This is Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Thanks for joining us. We're joined by Adam Hill. He is the chair of the Board of Supervisors in San Luis Obispo County. Sir, I thank you so much for joining our program.
Thank you.
I want to speak with you about what's known as the Carrizo Plain. It's in southeast San Luis Obispo County. There are 2 solar farms slated to be built on the plain. There had been some concern about the environmental impacts of those solar farms, and recently some litigation was settled with regard to the largest farm, the Topaz Solar Farm. Talk to us about the results of that settlement.
Yeah, well, the one that you're referring to, which is the Topaz 550 megawatt proposed farm, they did reach a settlement with a couple of the local environmental groups, North County Watch and Carrizo Commons, and I think what was agreed upon was that at the end of 35 years they would cease operations, which I think had been their plan all along, but the other part of it is that they will turn over the land as for permanent conservation.
I want to get a sense of your thought on this settlement. Solar energy is green, and as I understand it, about 2.5% of the entire plain will be set aside for these solar farms. And while I'm not interested in disrupting habitat, solar is green, and so do we really want to commit to shutting down a solar farm that's putting out 550 megawatts in 35 years?
Well, that's obviously a good question, one that the company decided that they would rather settle. You know, they always plan to operate this specific plant for about 30 years. I mean, that's what the technology was set for, and I would say that in 30 years you're going to see, obviously sooner, much better solar technology as it continues to get better, so the scale will probably be reduced. Right now you have a plant like that is huge, I think 10 square miles. So by 30 years, 35 years from now, you're going to have much greater technology that will be able to produce and hopefully store solar electricity on a smaller scale.
Now the second farm, the smaller one, is known as the California Valley Solar Ranch. They have started construction. But they still are being pressed by certain environmental interests. They have not settled with regard to the larger claim of when they would cease operations. Do you have a sense what's happening on that front?
You know, we monitor it. We have an interest in seeing both the projects go forward. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was similar. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something else. Maybe because they're they have a smaller footprint because they're a smaller project. They have settled. Both companies have settled with the larger national environmental organizations right off the bat, and that had to do with setting aside more mitigation lands for habitat.
Now, this region, as beautiful as it is, has several earthquake faults peppering its landscape and its beaches and its coast. And the Carrizo Plain is not unique. The San Andreas Fault goes right through it, and in 1857 there was a big one, 7.9. So should we be building solar farms in the middle of the Carrizo Plain right on top of the San Andreas Fault? Yes, we should. Well, tell me why.
Well, because
why shouldn't we be concerned? How about that?
Well, because you know, when the plants are actually constructed, they will not be really. You know, they're really passive. So you're not going to be. You know, if you were asking me whether we should be building all sorts of plants that have human beings occupying them night and day working, that might be different. But these are basically solar arrays that just sit there on on the land. One of the companies uses computer technology to move the arrays. The others are just just literally sit there. I think that they probably have maybe 10 employees after construction.
You mentioned employment. As we know, California is hit by an unemployment crisis. This county, fortunately, not quite as bad.
Not as bad.
I know that you're working with a group. I think you and Supervisor
Frank Meacham
are heading up a group or co-chairing a group. Are you looking at more green technology in terms of job development?
Yeah, we absolutely are. In fact, we see that these plants will bring a fair amount of positive attention to the county, and we see that a lot of our smaller companies are interested in this, whether they're technology companies or specialized manufacturing. Solar, despite all of the obvious obstacles, is the future.
Okay, his name is Adam Hill. My name is Brad Pomerance. We thank you for joining us. Back to HLN.
It's summertime and we're having fun. That's why we're gonna stay up late down
Hey, Kim.
Need a vacation from your summer vacation? Take a break with Charter on Demand, with channels like Comedy Central on Demand, plus hundreds of movies and music videos, and one button that lets it all in.